Hello, everyone. Today it will be a speech about some story in one of the biggest projects of Yandex. It is about Yandex Search. I think you heard about it. My name is Anton, and I'm the front-end architect of Yandex Search and head of Yandex video front-end development right now. And let's meet the Yandex Search. What is the project and what's the problem we solved? Firstly, it is a project of more than 10 years history, and right now, Yandex Search uses more than 150 million users per day. The code base, more than 500,000 lines of JavaScript. Every day, we merge more than 50 pull requests, and robots do it for us. It is not by our developers. Currently, nearly 60 full-time developers do Yandex Search, and more than 300 contributors we had, in fact. For the last year, we had nearly 5,000 A/B experiments, and right now you can see nearly 100 active. OK, the long story short. React in prod. And what it means. You can see it right now for our features, and we use it for some difficult user interfaces with some difficult logic, and for some videos, players, some presenters, like that. You can try it right now. These features 80 million users see every day. Not on search only, but search, it is in front. But after that, projects like video, images, collections, either health, education, and others using React too. And it's nice. Also, we have a components library, like many of us. But this library has more than 200 projects in support. The most frequently asked question for us when we talk about React on Yandex, why? Because we have a long story and some custom instruments, and to understand the problem, try to do some experiment. It is a list of some technologies, and try to apprehend if you know anything of that. I think some of us work in Yandex, but it is your reflection, right now. And it is the main problem, because a lot of technologies need a lot of time to support. And I explain you what is the technologies in short. And ENB, it is an asset bundler. It helps us to make an assets like JS and CSS. It is a Webpack's grandmother or grandfather, doesn't matter. And Proof.js, it is in a server-side templates. And of course, we're writing server-side code. And BAMTeckle, it is dependency resolver. I think story of this tool starts when we didn't have a require on client side. And IBM.js, it is our client framework, which is based on jQuery. And BAM.xgst, it is an XSLT-based templates engine. It's really fast. And anybody knows about XSLT? What is it? Yeah, it's some of old technologies, but it's our story and it works perfect. And Constructor, it is a feature-oriented framework which we use on the Yandex Search. It helps us use a simple JSON to make difficult features, and we use it in already some blocks which we made before for these features. It's simple, and main idea of it is using a manager to do features on the project. Okay, we have a lot of developers in Yandex. What's the problem? We can support everything and do everything, but in-house software has some cons. Firstly, it is a high bus factor. Of course, we can make some technologies inside, but teams are not stable in time, and something can happen with anybody, and it makes it trouble for our projects, and it isn't a problem, because in some time, it can be like you will not have a developer which understands how it works, and he or she doesn't know how to solve some problem in production. It isn't a problem, of course. And new employees aren't ready to work because all newbies doesn't understand how our technologies work. They need to learn a lot of new information, and it makes new features longer. We don't like that. Of course, nobody knows like that. And business models are changing in time. First idea of the search, it is making an answer for anybody fast. It was the first main idea. But right now, search, it is in a place where you can get information and do something with that information right here, right now. Not only get the link to the next website. Okay, we decided to do this div in that project, and it's not so easy. The next main question, it is why the React? A lot of new frameworks, libraries, why React? Here, we need to go deeper in story. In time, when the React was in a 50 and Node.js was in a 4 version, we had some list of experiments within the server-side rendering, and we tried to measure speed of rendering of React. Of course, we tried to compare it with our technologies, and this number shows you it was impossible in that time. No change to React. After that, we had some tries to merge our technologies within a React to make some DDSLs for using our template engine on server side and using React on client side. Different kinds of experiments, but this number says it's impossible. What is the important quality of the search? Of course, it isn't time to answer. Try to imagine what will happen if you will wait for the answer from the Yandex Search or Google, doesn't matter, more than 1 second or 2 seconds. Try to merge how long you're waiting right now for the answer. It is a lot of work before you see this answer. And of course, rendering, it is one of the important parts on the front end to do that. And understanding of this idea makes using React on Yandex Search impossible. But after maybe months, maybe years later, when React comes 60 and a node comes to 8, we try it again. Developers are strange, and we tried to measure again, and this number shows you it is a chance to react, because in operations per second, same. It means we can use some hacks or our experience to try to use React in prod. And of course, applause for the Facebook in that time, because they did a lot of work to make these optimizations. Okay, when we decided to do that, we tried to understand enterprise reasons, and Firstly, as I said, it is in a different business model right now for the Yandex Search, because people want to use the information right here, right now, like watching the videos or reading something, or I don't know, adding to collections, chatting, something like that. And we need to have a much difficult user interfaces, and React can help us to do that. React, it is an open library, and of course, it has a roadmap which we like, and some of these things are already in production. But in that time when we made a decision, they wasn't. And it is a roadmap which we support. We can do something for this roadmap, and we have people who make issues, who make a code for React, and we understand what's happening and what will be after the 1 year, for example. And we have some proposals for React about partial hydration, for example. You can read it, find some RFC about that, and it is really nice. And the way to weight loss of React, it is a nice idea, and we really appreciate it. And of course, we're using a TypeScript right now with React. And why TypeScript? I think anybody understands it on feelings level. Yeah, it's. I think you don't need something extra, but we have a nice story. You can use this link to understand how we are updated one button on the Yandex Search for the 3 months. And it is a really nice example of how TypeScript can help you to predict changes after you're changing in code locally. You don't need to start your code on beta or in production before understand what happened. And of course, TypeScript helps us to have a same language standards on client and server. Because before that, we wrote in the codes in different ways for the nodes and client side. We didn't use tools like Babel or something else. It is a problem for developers because they need to think about what they do right now and what part of the code will be in browser, which part only on server side. It isn't a part of optimizations, understanding. It's not easy sometimes. Okay, 1 year ago, we tried to do experiments in production, of course. What does experiment means in Yandex Search? Usually, when we're talking about A/B experiments, it is about changing some colors, and see what people do. It's simple, but not in Yandex. Of course, it is in a special part of audience, and it is in several thousands of different metrics which we can use in it to understand nice it is experiment or not. I think different people can say it's about one metric, it's nice. Others can say it's not. Sometimes it is a problem to understand what's happening, in fact. But we have a different kind of metrics. It's like for product, speed, audience, about money, and else. And you need to have an active experiments for the 7 days minimum, because we need to understand the different audience and work days and weekends and different time of the day and the different parts of audience, like students or others, I don't know, any. Of course, you need to have an experiment in all kinds of browsers which we support, and it's all. And all locals, in Ukraine, in English, Turkey, everywhere, because it's different. And of course, for these experiments with React in production, we needed to understand speed metrics, because speed affects everything, and product too. Because if our users will will get an answer from Yandex Search slowly. They will get an advertisement or some features slowly. It's smaller money, and you understand what I mean. It's speed is important, and we have more than 100 speed metrics, but here we will talk about 3 of them. It is in a JS init, it is time to JS initialize it on the page. And TTI, it is a time to interactive, when the person can do something after the JS initted. And the template time, it is a time which the servers used to render HTML string. OK, experiment 1. The curation bravery, yeah. We tried to add a React bundle to a page without any features, without iterations, only the bundle with a React and React DOM. And look at this. It is numbers of slowdown. It's on how React can affect metrics of your website if you do it in this way. I think it looks like that when we see these numbers. Yeah, it's really like a hook. But we understand something after that experiment, and adding the React bundle on the page means too long JS parsing, because in React it is not problem. It's not in weight of the bundle. Problem is in difficult of code, because the browser needs more time to understand the code, to interpolate it, different things, and it's slow. Of course, if you try to iterate something in parallel within your main JavaScript on the page, it affects the main thread of browser, and everything tries to fail. It's not right way. And we understood we need to live within a 30% bigger JS bundle for a few years, because if you have an experience, to work in the big projects, you understand something. You can't rewrite everything in one day, you can't rewrite everything in 1 month, and in 1 year too, because it's really big, and you need to make any features, not refactor. Okay. Experiment 27, I think this is not a correct number, but close to that. It wasn't when we understood everything. We thought we understood, but not. Current number of slowdown in production close to this number on the whole platforms. It's really nice, because we tried to make a search faster for the 10% every 6 months. It means we can do that fast. How we did it? Firstly, of course, we don't need a React on every page. If you understand how the Yandex Search works, every answer, it is a unique page, because it is the unique set of documents which you see, because every person has a unique question, yeah? And it means we don't need to have all our features in JS bundle on main page. We can do it in different way, and it works for the React features too. We can add React on the pages only when we have the React features. Of course, we have a main page. It is an Yandex.ru, for example, and we can use it for the prefetch. It means if you have ever been on Yandex, you have a React in cache right now. And it helps us. We tried to make a lazy hydration. It means we tried to do it after the main JS initted. After the features on IBM.js ready to work. We tried to make a timeout and try to hit rate features on the React, and it works fine. We tried to work with a bundling system to help the Webpack do his work better, because default settings and documentation doesn't do it for you. And we tried to make some smart system of calculation common chunks. It is in common chunks, not like a vendor bundle, if you understand what I mean. It is in common chunks between features on the page, because you can have a set of features and they can have common components, and we can calculate. And it helps to have a smaller bundle for the per page. Of course, we are inline common CSS in heads, but it is not only works for React. I think it works perfect for any. And we tried to inline CSS before the feature DOM. And it is not a strategy which works for any browser. Make the experiments to understand need you or not this rendering. But it helps in general. It helps browser render the CSS in time when it parses an HTML. It works perfect. And of course, we try to inline JS features in page. It is not remote bundles. It is in a simple scheme how it works right now. The result page has different documents, and any of these documents can be a React feature. It means we have a list of React applications on one page, and they work fine. There's different routes. They work fine, and if you have an idea to integrate React on your website in different technology, you can use this idea. Open source. Of course, when we started to think about using React and different tools from community, we think about open source, and to have a long story about our tools in open source, and it's really nice, but if you have an experience with that, usually it works like that. It works, but you need something extra. And it is a list of which we needed to have a nice experience with open source. It's strange, but we have a custom internalization package for React, because we have a special system inside for editors and translators. It's called Tanker. It is a system which we're using for different translations of keys between different services. It is really nice, and of course it has a special format for internalization files, and it's the reason why we needed to do something special. And Baobab, which is something about counters. I don't know any package or project in open source about counters, because usually it is in a product measurement, and it is impossible to do it easy, and it is not nice when you need to write calls of functions, for example, Google Metrica or Yandex Metrica or something like that. We're using a different metrics and custom, not Yandex Metrica only. And we needed to have a special tool for do counters automatically, and Baobab, it is a library which helps us to do that. It is something which binds to React tree and finds interactive elements and makes wrappers for them within calls to counters. It's really nice. And of course, push bundle. It is in some codes of static delivery to a page. It is about delivery JS inline or not, CSS inline or not, different strategies about delivering static, and it depends on the browser, of course. React Bus, it is a simple communication bridge between old code, between IBM.js or jQuery within React. It is a simple event emitter, but it can make a queues of events. If you remember, think about lazy hydration of React, it means users can start to touch your features on React before it's ready to interactive, and we make an queues of these events, and then when the React features is ready, we try to send these events to a server in metrics, like that. And BAM React, it is a set of tools which help us to make components and experiments better. Try to think about it like not about BAM methodology, like about helpers, and I try to show you how it helps us right now. Of course, the search, it is a data-driven user interface, because we don't know what will be on the page. It is absolutely dynamic, and it means we need to find the way how to call different JS in different pages. And BAM React help us to make dynamic modifiers of components. It means we can make some special wrappers for any part of our code, which can bind to props, which depends on data. And when props match with the data, we can dynamically import code for our page and call it. It works automatically, and it makes a good impact for our bundles. And you can see in this simple example how it works. Here we change some theme of button component, and the theme, it is a dynamic modifier, and it is a rebuild step in Create React App, and you can see, of course, it's different in weight. It works in production in same way. And of course, we needed to have some way to make experiments, because you can do anything on Yandex Search without experiment. It's impossible. We're programmers. And only one way to do the experiments, it is having a dependency injection system. And here it is an example of our implementation for that. It's based on the React context, but it's an inverted React context. Here an example how we are using components inside of others. And here you can see we try to get components from some registry. It is a simple object, which like a configuration of your user interface. And this configuration exactly experiment. You can change this configuration and your implementation of different components in your code, but you don't need to change the code. And it helps us to make different experiments with different components. It's really nice, it's really simple, and it works fine. And the important thing about that set of these tools, it is nearly 1 kilobyte. It's if you know some packages about in open source, as usually, for example, class builder for the BAM for the React weighs more than 1.5 kilobytes. It's interesting fact, but try to, and that's it. Thank you very much for that. And I have a special page for the Holy War. If you need an inspiration for the questions.
Okay, please sit down.
And first question.
how to understand that it's time to change something in the stack of technologies used in the project?
I think I don't have an exact question for that, how to understand. No. I think if you... I think you need to use a business to, as a driver of changes in your project. It's about technologies too. You don't need to change something in project for fun or something like that. Of course, it works only for the big project if you need to get any money from the users or something like that. And try to understand what the reasons for the technologies in your project you have. And if you understand why you need to use something, use it. If you don't understand, try to not.
Okay, we have a number of the same questions, I think. Why have you used exactly React, not Angular, not something else, just maybe in a couple of sentences?
I tried to answer for that question in slides, but I think we don't have an exact answer for that. It is in a set of our story and experiments, and of course we tried different libraries and frameworks. And React, it is really simple, and I mean simple in different ways. Simple to understand for the newbies, for example, and it's simple inside. If you're developer and you need to understand something in the framework and library, you can do that. And it's really nice code. And what other thing? It works nice with our approach to components because it's really close to BEM methodology and some declarative style of components. And it can be used with different renderers, for example. We can split renderer and use it for native or something like that. And I don't know, I think it comes with a natural way in Yandex because some projects in a company tried to use it, and now we have a lot of them. And I think it wasn't like a difficult decision.
Okay. And the question that correlates with the previous one, how to understand that exact time when you need to change the stack of your big project?
In my opinion, it is a time when you understand you spent a lot of time to make something in your project for a long time. And if you understand in that moment, if you used to something else, you can do it faster. Okay. I think at that moment, you can try to use something different. I think right now we need to support Internet Explorers, but we're trying to support answering browsers in some special way. We have a special version of Yandex Search for the slow connections and old browser versions. It isn't different, and it is, of course, without React and without some extra features which are on the main Yandex Search. You can try to see that in the Metro or from some old browsers like an EA8, for example.
Okay, you said that speed of search is everything. It is very important. Two questions. First is why then do you have so much features on the result page? Is it business requirements or something else?
It is, of course, from the business. Yeah, we want to have we want to be as much as useful as possible on the first answer, because, for example, if you're asking search about cafe or restaurant, you want to know everything about that right now, not only address. You need to see it on the map, you need to see the time of working, everything, and you can want to interact within the map. And I think it is a natural way of using information. It is a users drives these ideas to having them on the Yandex Search. It is not. I think it is not a problem. It's nice.
Okay, and how do you think why the search, why the speed of the search is more important than the quality of results that you searched?
I didn't say that. It's both things are important,
Yeah.
but we have different responsibilities within the backend, and quality of answers. It is not something which front-enders can change.
Okay.
We can show this answer.
And the last question. How do you organize your repo for React components? Monorepo or a few smalls?
Is it indeed?
Today we are on the way to monorepo. It is in a short answer. We try to live in one repository with all of our front-end services, with all our components libraries, but it is not easy, and I think not 1 year to get everything. Now we have different monorepos with components, with services, and we try to merge them. It is our target for the few years, and right now, yeah, we're on the way.
Okay, now please choose the best question.
Okay, might be about the quality of answers.
Okay. Thank you very much again. Thank you for your talk.
Thank you.